Cannabis Common Sense, the show that tells the truth about marijuana and the politics behind its prohibition.
You don't let me sit on
Hello, and welcome to another exciting edition of Cannabis Common Sense. We have a little baby Liliana here who is almost 1 year old, and her mother has been helping on this show for many, many years, and we thought we'd introduce you to her. But standing by in the wings is Mr. Jim Matheson. Hey, Jim.
Hey, now.
He is going to be playing some music for us tonight. And then next to me is Casper Leach. And he will be joining us. We'll be taking your phone calls in just a little while. But first, we'll bring on our infamous Dancing Cannabis Leaves.
I feel the force.
Okay, our first story tonight is about our illustrious leader, President Barack Obama. Yesterday said he expects more states to legalize cannabis. In a YouTube interview, Obama discussed cannabis policy and the contrast between federal and state law. 4 states, Colorado, Washington, Oregon, and Alaska, plus the District of Columbia, have now legalized marijuana. We have a little video clip, or can we run that clip now? No? Yes?
We're an all-volunteer staff. Remember
Yeah,
that.
this is a volunteer show. And
Go to the next news item.
okay,
There you go.
maybe we'll run it in a second.
Okay.
In Colorado, since cannabis sales became legal over a year ago, crime has dropped and both state revenue and employment in Colorado is up too. In 2010, Colorado had 9,022 cannabis possession arrests. In 2014, it had 1,464, which is an 84% reduction. Also, cannabis cultivation and selling offenses were also down 90% during the same time. Over 16,000 employees are now licensed to work in the cannabis-related businesses in Colorado, helping to push Colorado's unemployment rate to its lowest point in 6 years. Not factoring medical cannabis sales in, the state of Colorado is taking in more than $50 million in sales tax for recreational cannabis use. From a public safety standpoint, Colorado saw a 3% decline in fatal auto accidents during the first year of legal cannabis sales, and that over $8 million in cannabis tax revenue has gone directly to support youth prevention and education. Across the river in Washington State, a letter's been sent to the legal marijuana stores on official Department of Army letterhead asking those marijuana stores not to sell to enlisted troops. The letter, first revealed in a Twitter post, says, quote, "This letter is to inform you that your establishment has been declared off limits to members of the armed forces, effective the 21st of January, 2015. Forces are prohibited from entering your establishment as long as this order is in effect." Readers of the letter, it was signed by Colonel David L. Chase of the U.S. Army, and the president of the Armed Forces Disciplinary Control Board. The letter went on, quote, "This restriction will remain in effect indefinitely in accordance with established armed forces policy unless you agree to stop selling substances similar to marijuana to military personnel," end quote. The curiously worded letter causes us to think that these stores actually don't sell substances similar to marijuana. Colonel Chase, sir, they sell marijuana. The letter went on, "You have 30 days to present evidence to the Armed Forces Disciplinary Control Board that you agree to stop selling these substances to military personnel." The letter demands that we take a guilty until proven innocent approach that seems to be popular among U.S. Army types. Well, that's the end of our hemp news segment tonight. We're going to jump over to Mr. Jim Matheson. Welcome back, Jim.
Thank you.
Good to have you back.
It's a little hillbilly song from Southern Oregon, going out to everybody everywhere. I was raised up on the mountain, yeah, high up on solid ground, and I had my head way up in the clouds. One day I had to come down. One day I had to come down. So I ventured to the flatlands. They just went on and on. Before I ever got to the other side, I started missing home. Started missing home. See, them people, they weren't as friendly. They'd all been traumatized by the rush of this here civilization. They all were trapped inside. So they went and they made a war so they could drive around a big old car. And they drive it all up in circles, but they never get that far. And they prey upon each other like it's some good healthy sport. And their idea of a wilderness is a condo at the resort. They only make rules that benefit the ones that lock you up. And there's not much more to say, except this whole place is damn corrupt. So I'm going back to my mountain, and there I'll spend my days. And I'll make love to my mountain girl, and I'll smoke my OG haze, and I'll live my old school ways.
Okay. Thank you, Jim. Appreciate that. He'll be back at the close of the show with another groovy tune. Welcome, Casper. It's good to see you.
Happy Friday. Thank you so much.
Friday. It's good to see you, viewers. We are taking your calls tonight. If you have a question about ending adult marijuana prohibition, which we've done here in Oregon, and helping medical marijuana patients or restoring industrial hemp, then we'll be happy to take your phone call or question or comment. You can call us tonight, the 23rd of January at 503-288-4442. That's 503-288-4442. So you heard about Obama's YouTube interview yesterday?
I did. He is a groovy cat. First, he helped Stephen Colbert end his week of broadcasting, and the next thing you know, he's becoming a YouTube. I think Michelle's husband is trying to get himself a new career so that when he leaves this little job that he's got with president, he can then maybe get a real job in entertainment industry.
We will see what he chooses to
And
do.
I'm thinking if he's going to do an interview on YouTube, he should come to community cable.
We'd be happy to have him here. You know, here is a little excerpt from that YouTube interview. It's a couple minutes. We'll be back.
Did you see the lady
in just
had
a
green
moment.
lips?
No.
Oh my God. Check it out.
Sometimes people think I do, but I don't smoke pot. And it's not for me. I think that it's bad for my brain. I'm not into it, but people think I do smoke pot because I'm in favor of legalizing marijuana. And we're in a really weird place with marijuana right now. Like it's illegal in some places, but it's illegal everywhere, but in some places it's kind of okay. But if the state thinks it's not okay, then let's throw those people in jail. I feel like it leads to excessive incarceration, especially among minorities. And in places where it's been legalized, everything's doing okay.
Yeah.
How do we move forward out of this legal gray area weirdness?
Well, what you're seeing now is Colorado, Washington, through state referendum, they're experimenting with legal marijuana. The position of my administration has been that we still have federal laws that classify marijuana as a illegal substance, but we're not going to spend a lot of resources trying to turn back decisions that have been made at the state level on this issue. My suspicion is that you're going to see other states start looking at this. What I am doing at the federal level is asking my Department of Justice just to examine generally how we are treating nonviolent drug offenders. Because I think you're right. What we have done is, instead of focusing on treatment, the same way we focused, say, with tobacco, or drunk driving, or other problems where we treat it as a public health problem, we've treated this exclusively as a criminal problem. And I think that it's been counterproductive, and it's been devastating in a lot of minority communities. It presents the possibility, at least, of unequal application of the law, and that has to be changed. Now, the good news is that we're starting to get some interest among Republicans as well as Democrats in reforming the criminal justice system. We've been able to initiate some changes administratively, and last year you had the first time in 40 years where the crime rate and the incarceration rate went down at the same time. I hope we can continue with those trends because there's just a smarter way of dealing with these issues.
All right. Well, we're almost out of time here, but I have brought a little something for you.
What do you got?
I'd like you to sign. So this is a picture of me holding a receipt from my pharmacy. I have a chronic condition.
Okay.
I'm stunned. I can't believe I actually heard with my own. I might start remembering his name now.
He might be getting better now that he's
Wow.
doesn't have to run again, and there's some changes there.
Well,
So,
I always have a problem remembering the names of evil people, but
well, remember he was a member of the Choom Gang. I've seen his senior high school entry. He's got a page in the Punahou Schools graduate from 1978, I believe it was, and he has a couple packs of zigzag rolling papers and gives a shout out to his cannabis smoking group called the Choom Gang.
so there's maybe a chance that
He was one of these guys who jumped in between people as the joint was being passed and said, "It intercepted," and takes the joint from him. Boy, I kind of remember somebody doing that a time or two back in the 70s. But that was one of the things that Obama apparently did when he was a high school student.
So you mean the President of the United States may have actually smoked bitter herb than you or I?
Well, I don't know about that, but he's definitely smoked some good Hawaiian stuff, because I can tell you that the stuff in Hawaii was pretty good back then.
Well, Barry, I'm going to remember your name now.
All right.
I like you. Keep moving in that direction, and you might end up being a really cool president.
You got, what is it, 1/4 of his 8 years left, or less than that now. Well, we have a telephone caller who's been standing by. Let's take that call. Welcome to the show, caller.
Hey there, Paul. Do
Howdy.
you personally ever use those vape pens? I know I saw at the dispensary today. They
Vape
actually
pen?
have them on sale.
Oh, the vape pens.
Pre-filled.
So you said the vaporization pins?
Yeah, I know you said you
Yeah.
have a volcano, but
I prefer my Volcano. The pins are nice, and I have used them, and they work real well. It really depends on there's a variety of different types. Some of them are for solid extracts. Some of them are for liquid extracts. Some of the extracts are mixed with glycerin. I prefer ones that don't have glycerin because I don't really like vaporizing glycerin myself, but they work okay. And it really depends on the extract that goes into the pen. I've heard that there are literally over 2,000 different vaporization pens made right now. A lot of them are made in China with substandard parts and chemicals, but some of them are really good. But I can't give you off the top of my head a reference for any one of those 2,000 varieties.
Would you
of pens.
say that it's healthier than smoking? It's
Oh
better
yeah,
for your
yeah, it
lungs
is healthier than
smoking.
smoking. Well, the thing is, when you smoke, 95% of what you inhale is not the medicine, and it's the combustion byproducts, the carbon monoxide, the tar, the things. What happens when marijuana burns, the vaporization that takes place just before it burns is the medicine. And once it burns, that destroys the medicine. So according to a study out of Cambridge University back about a decade ago, water pipes, bongs, are the least efficient way to smoke because they burn it more quickly. It destroys about 75% of the medicine. About 25% is taken in. A regular hand pipe destroys about 60%, and a joint or cigarette is the most efficient way to smoke, and it destroys about 50%. A vaporizer doesn't destroy any of it at all, and what's left over in the medicine after it's been vaporized can still be consumed edibly or vaporized further. So when you vaporize, all of it are powerful antioxidants. THC, CBD, the terpenes or aromatic hydrocarbons, all of those are actually very good for your health, and putting them in your lungs, unless you have severe CPOD, wouldn't be a problem. And even if you do have CPOD, it's kind of a medicine that might help regenerate your lungs. So vaporization is much, much better than smoking.
Yeah, those volcanoes are pretty spendy. Do you have any?
They are.
Do you ever use any less expensive? I know you
Yeah,
have volcanoes.
there are a
You
lot
probably
of
just
different
use that.
vaporizers out there, and the first ones were made with heat guns, those hardware things that are used in taking paint off substances or wood. And so you can turn those down low enough. You have to be below combustion, below about 450 degrees. I keep my vaporizer at about 360 degrees. And that,
Have you tried the herbalizer?
yeah, I've tried that. It works pretty well. There's the ones that have a whip with a little box. Those work pretty well as well. But again, some of them can be turned up too high, and then you're burning it and smoking it anyway. So the thing about the volcano is it won't go up that high, and so you can't ever burn it with that. But a lot of the pens, you have varying means of combustion, possible combustion as well.
Yeah, I'll probably end up getting the volcano.
Yeah, they're worth it. I've got one volcano that's 12 years old and it's still working. So,
Nice.
yeah, they last a long time, even with my heavy usage.
Yeah, they had a couple of Black Friday deals, but I missed those, obviously.
Yeah, well, your lungs are worth it, so save up. And but the best vaporizer is the one you're going to use. So that's the thing to go for, and try it out beforehand if you can.
Thanks a lot.
All right, thanks for your call.
You're
If
welcome.
you have a question or comment for us tonight, you can call us at 503-288-4442. That's 503-288-4442.
So is this your wood on the table?
Yeah, that's some hemp stalks from our THCF garden. You can see the outer bark is the bast fiber that's been used to make canvas, rope, lace, linen for time immemorial. The interior woody core has been used to make things like this hempcrete. This is incredibly light.
Cool.
This is a mixture of hemp fiber and lime. And we were talking about a class that took place last
Does
weekend.
it flake easy? I mean, do you have to hold it gingerly, or can
No,
you do
I don't
something
think
with
so.
it?
No,
Really?
it's I mean, no more so than any other brick. There's a book out there all about it called the Hempcrete book, and it's about sustainable building. And so this is something to look into. Hempcrete. So this is carbon negative. It's stronger than concrete. It's about half the weight of concrete. So it's been used in building materials for over 2,000 years. And so hope we'll see more and more of that. We'll see more buildings made out of that right here in River City. So what do you think about vaporizers? You got a little one from a Canadian distributor?
KDK Distributors was nice enough to send me a wonderful vaporizer. And
What kind is that? Is it the Herbal Air one?
that's what it is.
It is
Thank
the
you
Herbal
very
Air.
much.
That's what this fellow was talking about. And they give away one of those a month to
They do.
patients who need it. So
and, you can
but
find out how to do that on our Tuesday show on KDK Distributors. I have a problem. It hurts my throat. The heated vapors. If I turn it down real low, it only gets so much. So I'm somebody who still prefers a pipe, but I do understand that vaporizing your medication does make it last longer and can give you a better effect. But and like I said, it's just too harsh on my throat. One of the reasons why I don't dab. I can't handle the heated inhale.
I see. Okay, if you have a question for us tonight, you can call us at 503-288-4442 or type a little question. And if you want to watch anywhere in the country, you can watch us on ustream.tv. There's a little text box right there beside the screen, and you can type in a question there, and it will be relayed through the magic of telecommunications to us here. When we'll
Plus,
try
you're
to
on
field that.
YouTube. All your past shows are found on YouTube as well.
There are hundreds of them. We don't quite have all of them up anymore, but there are literally 400 or 500 of the 770 or so. Is this show 770? Yeah, so we're going to have to build up in another 771. So 6 more shows, and we'll have the 777th show. We've been talking about what to do for the 777th show. Maybe talk about the luckiest people in cannabis.
That would be good.
We got the most, for the 666th show, we got the 6 most evil people in cannabis prohibition history.
We should encore that the week before we do 777.
That's a thought. It depends on how the mix goes. We always like to kick out a new one. That wouldn't be 776 though, if it
Makes
was a
them wait.
repeat,
The
right?
anticipation is great.
Okay. Well, we have a caller who's standing by. Let's take the call. Welcome to the show, caller.
Yes, Paul.
Howdy.
We've been using medical marijuana for some time now, and we've been happy with our grower.
Good.
I'm wondering what's going to happen to prices when the recreational market kicks in and becomes legal, and a lot of people perhaps would be raising prices on their product. Do you see some of the medical marijuana growers leaving that focus, and do you see prices going up or remaining the same for medical?
I think prices will actually come down because people will be able to grow larger amounts. I think the prices will come down. You know, the price is artificially held up by prohibition, and as the market becomes normalized and legalized, that removes a lot of the risk, and farmers are going to start competing in terms of price. You know, there's a cannabis conference a few months ago down in Las Vegas, and there they were saying in 2 years the wholesale price of marijuana is going to come down to $300 a pound. Well, that's like 10 or 15% of what it has been. And so with the lower, you know, I've bought ounces for $300 in my past, so buying a pound for $300 sounds like a pretty good deal. So the prices are coming down. And Oregon has the cheapest cannabis in the country.
And you still feel then that having the medical marijuana card will be an effective way of keeping the price down to be able to medicate with the cannabis?
Sure. Well, if you look at the tax that's been imposed on flowers, it's $35 an ounce. And so that's about $550, almost $600 per pound. So if you can get a pound for $300, if you have to put a $575 tax on top of it, you've increased the price by over 150, almost 200%. And so the medical marijuana, which won't be taxed, will be cheaper. And so patients will be able to grow more and process more than normal other adults can without a medical marijuana permit. Up in Washington State, we haven't really seen a decline in the number of medical marijuana patients there, and not in any great degree.
Well, do you feel that there'll be legislation, probably legislation to tax medical marijuana in Oregon or in any of the other states that have been legalized?
Oh, yeah. There's a tax that was imposed by Measure 91 of $35 an ounce on flowers and $10 an ounce on leaf and shake. So that tax is imposed. Now, a lot of counties went ahead, even though the law, Measure 91, said that there can only be a single state tax. There's the actual language of Measure 91 talking about it right there. Even though the law, and $5 on marijuana plants. So if you go to a store to buy a growing plant, and you're paying a tax on that of $5 a plant too. Once that's implemented, and we're probably about a year before those sales actually move forward. But a number of counties have passed additional taxes, and so the law says that they can't impose those taxes, but the city and county lobbyists for the city and county governments have been lobbying the legislature to remove that provision from this law so that cities and counties can impose an additional tax. And so we've got to fight those efforts in the legislature, and the best way to do that is to stay abreast of what's going on through the Oregon legislature's website and contacting your state legislators and urging them to deny cities and counties the ability to put an additional tax on. You know, you go across the river to Washington State, and marijuana in these stores is between $600 and $900 an ounce, where on the black market it's $200 to $300 an ounce. So most people are still buying from their local black market dealers. Most of the sales in the store, a lot of them are for tourists from out of state. That's true in both Colorado and Washington. And so they've set the tax way too high in Washington. They actually have 3 levels of taxation: on growing it, on processing it, and on selling it. And then in Colorado, the tax is quite high as well. So Oregon's tax, even at $570 a pound, is considerably less than these other taxes. And so that's better.
Well, thank you very much. Appreciate the information, and we appreciate the work you do.
Hey, thank you. I appreciate that.
Sad thing is, medical marijuana, unless I'm mistaken, is the only medical, that anything that's taxed. Unless I'm mistaken, you can write off on your taxes your medical care. They don't tax medical prescriptions. They don't tax even Band-Aids and gauze if you're getting it for burns and repair.
That's true.
The only thing that they want to tax is medical marijuana. They recognize what a huge industry it'll be. They're trying to get their finger in that pie, and they're also trying to slow us down. And it's the only reason it is happening, the legalization. We've always said that once Uncle Sam could figure out how to get money out of the marijuana movement, then Uncle Sam would allow the legalization. And until that time, the only way Uncle Sam can get any money out of marijuana is to arrest you and take your property. Now they found that if they let you go home and grow it, they can tax it.
Well, you know, like we said at the beginning of the show in that news article, they've raised a little over $50 million in state taxes in just the first year of marijuana legalization alone, and saved many millions of dollars in prosecution costs as well. You know, we had on this show back about 7 or 8 months ago a gentleman from Iowa who had been prosecuted for growing his own medical marijuana. Now, this guy, Benton McKenzie, was a cancer patient, And without the use of medical marijuana, his cancer advanced very rapidly, and he just passed away about 10 days ago. We have looked at this situation, and we've come up with a new little segment on our show we'll run occasionally called the State of Shame. And so here's our vignette for the state of Iowa, which is our state of shame this week.
We must work untiringly so that our children are obliged to learn the truth, because it is only through knowledge that we can safely protect them. Failing this, the next tragedy may be that of your daughter, or your son, or yours, or yours, or yours.
And sadly tonight, one of the state's advocates for the legalization of pot has passed away. Fox 28 News reporter Jason Hackett joins us now to share Benton McKenzie's story. And we feel like we got to know Mr. McKenzie through this process. He was a loud advocate.
Yeah, we spoke to him several times. I know Scott Sanborn went out there and spoke to him several times. Got very, very close to the situation out there. His case brought national attention to Iowa and put the spotlight on the fight for medical marijuana here in the state. Benton McKenzie's story was as unique as the disease that plagued his body. The 48-year-old was dying from angiosarcoma, an aggressive cancer, and was only given 2 years to live. He turned to the one thing that seemed to make the symptoms go away: cannabis.
I treat myself with cannabis. The more healthy I become and the more resilient I am.
McKenzie began growing his own strain of marijuana. He claimed it kept his cancer at stage 1 and turned his skeptical family into believers.
I believed all the hype and the stuff about marijuana being so bad, and then he showed me what it was doing.
Law enforcement saw it a different way. In 2010, they raided McKenzie's home, seized 70 plants, and threw his family into jail.
Watching my family go through this, in my opinion, is worse than going through the cancer.
In the weeks after his arrest, his cancer quickly progressed to stage 4. During the trial, the McKenzies were barred from using the medical marijuana defense, despite the fact that once he was released from jail, he was allowed to travel to other states to get cannabis oil to treat his cancer. Supporters of McKenzie stood by his side.
We're outraged by this. This is something that should be changed.
In July 2014, Benton and his wife were convicted of manufacturing a controlled substance. Their son was found guilty of possession.
My whole family is in this position just for not deserting me while I'm dying.
But in the sentencing in September, the judge showed leniency and sentenced Benton and his wife to 3 years of probation.
It just blows me away. I'm grateful for all the support.
In the final interview we conducted with McKenzie in September, he expressed his hope for the future.
Even if the plant needs to be regulated in their minds, it should be done by somebody who knows the facts and who knows what they're talking about, somebody who's dealt with it.
Now, on the Facebook page, Free Benton McKenzie, that was formed during this entire thing, there's already an outpouring of condolences from the people that were in support of him. According to media reports, he was surrounded by his family when he died.
Wow. You know, no matter what your position on this, he really forced the questions.
Yeah,
You know?
absolutely.
Wow.
And he's one of many stories here in Iowa, and it's interesting to see as the session comes up how many other stories we see just like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thanks for that update.
Thank you.
The music and sound there was excerpted from the movie Reefer Madness. So the little thing there, but we talked about the sad tale of Benton McKenzie, and our condolences go out to Loretta McKenzie, his wife and widow, and his son Cody McKenzie, and hopefully they are continuing on with their life. I know they're missing him a great deal. But the state of Iowa steps in as our first state of shame for the sad way that Benton was treated there. At least he didn't thrown in prison to die there. So there's a step forward in that regard. I think we have a caller standing by. Let's go ahead and take that call. Welcome to the show, caller.
Greetings, Paul and friends. Thanks for taking my call.
Hey, thanks for calling.
Yes, what I'm excited about is this spring I get to be able to plant my 4 plants. And I haven't decided if I'm going to put it in my garden or next to my ornamental bushes around around the fence, around my azaleas and everything. I was wondering, are you going to have any shows to help us growing this? I don't want to grow it indoors. I want it completely outdoors.
I think that's the smartest thing. It's a lot more sustainable, a lot less energy efficient. You can get your plants 10 to 20 times bigger outdoors than you can get them indoors. And so we recommend growing outdoors. And so we will have some shows on cultivation techniques. I'm going to give a presentation in Denver here in March at the Canna Grow Conference on how to grow a plant that yields 10 pounds or more. But I can tell you those secrets right here, right now. The best thing to do is to have a cutting or a plant started indoors right now. And when you put it outdoors come mid-May, I put outdoors plants that are already 4 to 5 feet tall. And so they fill up a huge area where they can be about 15 or 20 feet wide and 12 to 15 feet tall. So that's one of the secrets, is you take your cutting early and you grow it indoors and you put it out there in mid-May. And then come the middle of October, the plant's ready to harvest.
As far as about being in your garden or by the fence, well, if you put it by the fence, someone's liable to come along and just reach over the fence and take your marijuana plant. So I would say make certain that your plants are secured as well.
Having your plant stolen is no fun. I can tell you from experience. And but you want to put it in a place that has lots of sunshine. One of the things we did is we put floodlights switched on by motion detectors, and that seemed to work very well for us in terms of security.
Oh, okay. Hey, so usually the planting is in mid-May?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
The key is that the photo period has to be longer. The amount of daylight available needs to be longer than about 14 to 14 and a half hours. And then here in Oregon, at our latitude, that happens about between the first and second week of May. And then it goes into flower once the photo period or the amount of daylight drops below that, and then it finishes up in October.
So harvest time is in October?
Yeah, about the middle of October. You want to keep a watch on the weather, because if it gets too wet, you'll have the flowers mold, and you don't want that to happen. You have to watch out for a lot of not only rain, but also dew in the morning, because in the fall season, a lot of fog just drops down as a curtain of mist and dew in the early morning pre-dawn hours.
Wow, I never expected all this. Well, maybe I'll put it in a pot on a dolly and move it indoors.
Yeah, I recommend a book. It's called Marijuana Horticulture by a fellow from Portland, Jorge Cervantes. And that's one of the best books out there.
Hey, thank you very much for taking my call.
You are very welcome. We got more callers. Welcome to the show, caller.
Hi there, Paul. Is that me now?
That's you now.
Doreen.
Hi,
Hi, Paul. Hi, Casper. It's always great seeing you guys on TV. Paul, I've got the same kind of cough you do from smoking in a pipe. Anyway, I'm going through the same thing with my doctors from Kaiser Insurance, giving me all kinds of grief over not saying the federal government is now, the last 2 months, has some new rules they're pressing down on the doctors to give people urine screenings and not allow them to smoke pot and receive their
that is
or
not
whatever,
true.
You know.
That is not true. The federal government is not urging doctors to do more urine screenings. Now, most pain management doctors are told to test urine for compliance with their pain management contract. But that has nothing to do with the federal government. Of course, the doctors would like to blame the federal government, but generally it's the position of the physician individually. For instance, in Kaiser's back about 10 years ago, told the doctors in medical marijuana states that they could recommend medical marijuana if they saw fit. But many doctors in Kaiser either don't know about that and are being dishonest with patients and telling them that there's a policy against it in their hospital. In fact, Kaiser doctors are authorized by the head office in California to recommend medical marijuana. So regardless of what they say, that's true. Now, in their pain management contracts, though, they have patients sign an agreement in terms of how they will obtain medicine. And so that's one of the ways they get patients to follow their regimen.
Exactly. That's exactly it. And they lie, too. They are saying exactly. I told them what you told me, that you knew it was not legal, and that Kaiser was one of, the federal government was allowing them to write prescriptions. They told me I was lying. I was making it all up.
Well, you can go out to the internet, do a search on Kaiser and medical marijuana, and pull up that study and the policy from Kaiser.
I think I need to do that and bring it in, because I changed doctors in Kaiser. They let you do that if you don't.
Yeah, you have to educate doctors. They are never taught anything about marijuana. And in their 4 years in basic medical school, before their internship or residency, they only take one little class on pharmacology. So most doctors don't know anything about medicine that they aren't told by the pharmaceutical companies. And the pharmaceutical companies give them gifts and perks and trips to write a lot of their prescriptions so they can sell their products. And so there's a conflict of interest there.
Most definitely, I agree with that. That's the sad part, because they're part of it. They were trying to convince me to take antidepressants or go for rehab for being a drug addict because of smoking pot, and I really wanted to educate these doctors so other people don't keep going through this. It's really sad hearing this story about that man dying in Iowa. Anyway, I really appreciate your help on everything and your answers to my questions.
I'd be happy to give you more information to give to those doctors. Just
wonderful.
Give us a ring.
That'd be great. Take care, you guys. Have a wonderful night.
All right, thank you. We got a couple questions on the internet. One of them is, in your 30 years of working in cannabis reform, what lessons have you learned since 1985? That's when I moved to Oregon and started working on marijuana. Well, citizen action is effective. That if you go down and you lobby your legislatures, you can have a real impact. You just tell them what you want, and sometimes they'll just do it. Maybe not all the time, but if you're a constituent, you help elect them or support them, then you have a little bit more leeway. But we can have a real impact here, and that's the main lesson that I would impart to others anyway. Let's see. And then, is cannabis legal here in the state of Oregon? What is the law? We'll pop that law up there, actually. The new Measure 91 law actually says in two different places, very close toward the end, that the law goes into effect and is implemented 30 days after the election passes. So that means the law went into effect in early December. Now, at another point in that law, it says that it doesn't go into effect until July. So just a few paragraphs apart, maybe 10 sentences or less apart, there are two different dates given. So a lot of people, especially the media, have been reporting the July date, but there's another point in the law that says it went into effect in December, and many of the counties, Multnomah County in particular, has said that it goes there. There are those two different sections where the one section says it goes into effect 30 days after the election, and the other one says it goes into effect in July. So the law has two different dates. I think that the earlier date is the better date. Looks like that it's in effect right now, if you ask me, and that's what I'm saying, though the media might tell you differently, and your mileage may vary. So that's the answer to both of those questions. Let's take another caller out there. Welcome to the show, caller.
Hi, is it me?
It's you.
Oh, okay. I am I carry a medical card for marijuana, and I'm wondering, now that it's legal, are they going to still charge as much as they do for those? Because most of the people that I know that have marijuana cards are on disability and don't really have a lot of money.
Yeah. Unless
Is
we
the
can get the
price
legislature to change that law. Those fees were imposed by the legislature about 4 years ago. They raised those fees. They had been going down based on the number of patients participating in the program, but the legislature raised the fee substantially to now it's $200 for a medical marijuana patient each year to get a state license. Just in
I've noticed it's gone up.
Yeah, and so the only way we can change that is to contact our legislators and say that's prohibitive, it's hurting me. Please please work to lower that state fee. And they're the ones who did it, the Oregon State Legislature, and they're the only ones who can change that law right now, unless we did a specific initiative just on that, and it would take a couple of years for that to go into effect.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. See, do we have another caller? Okay. Welcome back to the show, caller. Hello, caller.
Hi, Paul. Is this me?
It's you.
Oh, Casper.
Say hi, Casper.
Happy Friday.
How you been doing?
Fine, thank
Happy
you.
Friday to you all.
What's up?
Listen, Paul, I was going to talk to you about, well, Kaiser when you were talking about it, and now
Go right ahead. You went away from the phone there somehow.
Put the pipe down and talk into the phone.
Oh, well, we lost that call. And we've got about 10 minutes left here. If you have a question or comment for us tonight, give us a call at 503-288-4442. We have a little video.
How do you keep all that information in your head? You must have a pornographic memory.
Okay. We have a video from the state of Illinois about industrial hemp, this stuff we have on the table here. And so here's a couple of people in Bradley University in Illinois talking about industrial hemp.
You've got that, and you convert that into this. Projects where we're trying to take natural materials, so this happens to be hemp fiber, industrial hemp fiber, and we're trying to turn these sorts of materials into solid materials that you can build all sorts of things with. So the advantage of doing this is you can grow these materials locally, manufacture them locally, and they cost a fraction of the amount as their synthetic counterparts. And in addition, you can mix synthetics in with natural materials and make new composite materials that have the best of both worlds.
So normally people are used to looking at a car door like this. This is what most people see. But on the back side, you have this natural fiber, and this has been in use for 20 years. And to have this 90-degree angle here for that strength, not a problem with fiberglass, but with natural fibers, you have to have a very strong natural fiber, and hemp is certainly, one of the top ones.
There's lots of appetite for taking raw plant materials and tearing it all apart and making liquid fuels out of it, but that's always going to be a high volume, kind of a low margin product that's destined to be burned. We're talking about making materials that are high value added products for high value added end uses. The earth has finite amount of resources, and using these kinds of materials allows more people to live high standards of living without the same cost to the environment and the same cost of resources to have that quality of life.
Okay, so there it is. Hemp is good, and you can make good things out of it, and that's what we want to happen. I have worked now for 30 years to end marijuana prohibition here in Oregon, and we finally did it. The whole state managed to pull together and do that, and now It's time to continue that work for global cannabis freedom. As long as people are just being locked up for cannabis, then we've got to change those laws, and we've got to restore hemp for energy, folks. That's the real key here. The whole reason marijuana was prohibited was to stop this, to stop hemp fuel being used. Now, this is hemp seed oil with a piece of hemp twine here. This is next week's wick right here. And you can burn this in any diesel engine with no conversion to the engine today. You can pour that right into your diesel engine and turn the key and drive. And that's the reason it was made illegal. It's the petrochemical, pharmaceutical, military, industrial, transnational, corporate, elite, crony, capitalist, ruling class that have brought us hemp and cannabis prohibition.
Don't forget sons of bitches.
I tried to skip son of bitches this week, but okay.
I won't. I'll do that for you.
Okay, I knew you would.
Yep.
But we got to thank Gatewood Galbraith for your laying down that rap for us. But we have another caller. Welcome to the show, caller.
Hello, Paul. Is this me?
That's you.
Well, Paul and Casper, hello this week.
Hey, how you doing?
Happy Friday to you. I was trying to call earlier. Listen, I have comments about all the subjects you've talked to about tonight. This is Kim. But I primarily wanted to talk about what you were discussing about Kaiser. As you may recall, several years ago, I went through this for 3 years. I fought this. I was able to put it off for 3 years. I took care of the problem in the end, but I went through several people. Now, Permanente is being told from Oakland that the patient has a choice. They can use cannabis or they can use opioids because they do not know what cannabis does to you, despite the fact that they did the best research study about 15 years ago, as you know.
Yeah. They had the largest epidemiological study ever done with Kaiser Permanente patients with 70,000 patient survey.
Yeah, I told the pain doctor just exactly what you told me to say, and that was either you don't know what you're talking about, you're miseducated, or you're lying. Well, you know what? She said I had track marks going up and down my legs. I was stealing it from work and all that other stuff. But my final resolution to that was to use a different clinic that Kaiser contracts out with. And that was my solution 3 years after 3 years of battles.
What clinic did you go to?
The top.
Can you tell our viewers? You don't have to, but if you want to, I know there's at least one lady out there who would love to know.
Well, I think she would have to find that out. I don't think it would be appropriate for me to say that.
Okay.
I think that, but she can find out who they contract out with, and there are clinics out there.
All right. Well, thank you for that advice.
Paul, take care. Casper, bye-bye.
Thank you. Thanks for doing that. Well, we've got Mr. Jim Matheson standing by in the wings ready to play some music. Casper, you want to tell our audience about your radio network? You've got a radio network. How many people do you know that have a radio network?
That's a hobby. And we are a growing group of people of about 35 of us who are trying to raise the voice of the movement all around the world. We're going to be expanding into the Roku television network in about a week. And, of course, we are continuing to let the whole world know how important it is to take time for hemp. Please go to timeforhemp.com. Check us out. Share us with your friends. And don't forget, we got Android apps that you can download into your smartphones and onto your tablets so you can listen to us 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
All right. And we want to remind you, if you're anywhere across the United States and you're looking for help finding a doctor who can help you with medical marijuana, we have doctors. Just call that toll-free number, 1-800-723-0188. That's 1-800-723-0188. If you're here in the Portland area, you can call us directly at 503-281-5100. We're working to end marijuana prohibition and lobby the legislature so that we'll continue to have good laws. And you can call our political committee at 503-235-4606. That's 503-235-4606 if you want to get involved in protecting the new laws that end marijuana prohibition. Call that number on your screen. Thank you for watching. Thank you, Casper. Thank you, Jim. It's good to have you back in. We're going to go out with another song with Mr. Jim Matheson. Tune in next week and help us Restore hemp.
I'm going down the road, and you know it feels so fine. Been one place too long, so I left that place behind. Blessed if I do, and I'm blessed if I don't. It don't matter anymore. Some people they don't, other people smoke a lot, but we're not keeping score. So I'm going down the road, and you know it feels so fine. Been one place too long, so we left that place behind. Years they come and them decades they go, just the story stays the same. Some do the giving, you know, others do the take, but there's no one to blame. So I'm going down the road, and you know it feels so fine. Sitting one place too long, so I left that place behind. Sitting one place too long, so we left that place behind.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
That's going out to everybody that puts on any of these hemp festivals out there.
All right. And in case our viewers don't know, you're one of the main people behind organizing the first Seattle Hemp Fests and mortgaged your home to keep it going.
That's right. And
Back
look where we are now. It was worth it.
Amen.
You know?
Amen. Thanks for
And I'm not homeless.
doing that, Jim.
So it all worked.
Thank goodness for that. Thanks for watching. See you guys next week. Help us restore hemp. Good night.